Hi.
Alright, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're brand new here, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Y'all, today we are talking about Then She Was Gone by Jewell. I finished this book about a week ago and I was not planning to make a review on it or make a video specifically talking about it, but let me tell you, I have not stopped thinking about it. It's just been sitting with me. I just have so many questions. I've just been pondering it and I just know I need to talk about this. I need to ramble on about it for a little while. I need to get my thoughts out. I need to talk to you guys in the comments because seriously, this was such a journey and I'm still processing it and I need to talk about it. So as usual, I'm going to do a little spoiler-free synopsis and give my general thoughts for those of you that haven't read this book yet and are still thinking about reading it. And then from there, I do want to dive a little bit deeper. I do want to get into spoilers, give you all of my thoughts because I need to, but yeah, there's a whole lot, so let's just get into it. So this story follows a woman named Laurel Mack, and Laurel is a part of a family that really seemed like a pretty standard, normal family for a very long time. You know, mom, dad, couple of kids, all going to school, pretty, you know, standard middle class, really nothing too exciting. They were just your regular old family until a few years back, whenever one of Laurel's daughters, Ellie, just up and vanished. One day she left the house saying she was gonna go to the library and she was never heard from again. And this whole, you know, event has really haunted this small town, haunted their family, as can be expected, for the past several years. Nobody knows what happened to Ellie. It's long been suspected that she ran away, but that really doesn't make any sense because Ellie was a really bright girl. You know, she was on her way to go off to university. She was super good in school. She had a boyfriend. She was fairly popular. I mean, she was an attractive girl. It just doesn't make sense that she would run away from home or up and vanish without telling anybody where she's going. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, there has never been any sort of evidence found that, you know, she was murdered or that she was kidnapped or anything bad happened to her. Like, she literally just was there one day and then she wasn't. And you know, this has been a really hard thing for the entire Mack family, but especially Laurel because she is Ellie's mother. She obviously feels the need to protect her. She feels like a failure as a mom because she, you know, failed to look after her. Her baby girl up and vanished and nobody knows what happened. And it's been a really rough couple of years for her and for this family because this case has gone cold and it's just been accepted that we're not gonna find out what happened to Ellie. And so, I mean, over this time, Laurel and her husband, Ellie's father, have divorced, they've separated, and Laurel is just kind of drifting through life at this point, you know, working her little job, trying her best to be a good mom to their two other children, but Ellie is always in the back of her mind because of course she is. And, you know, things seem like they're just never gonna get better for her. She doesn't really think she's ever gonna find happiness again until one day she meets this man named Floyd in this cafe. And Floyd is just a nice guy, you know? He asks her to dinner, they go out, and she finds herself smiling and not thinking about Ellie for the first time in a very long time. So, I mean, her and Floyd hit it off. She thinks things are gonna be going really great. All seems right in the world until she meets Floyd's youngest daughter. And this is where things get weird. She can't help but notice that his youngest daughter, Poppy, has a striking resemblance to Ellie. And that's kind of like the general synopsis of this story. Obviously, it's kind of a mystery. It's kind of a thriller. We're trying to figure out what happened to Ellie. Laurel is dealing with this, you know, it's been years later. She's accepted that Ellie is not going to be found and she's, you know, found this new man. She thinks she's moving on, but now this daughter that's appeared is just reminding her of Ellie all over again and she can't seem to let it go. So we're kind of taken on a journey through this story, and the story is told in a very interesting way. I do want to say right off the bat, I didn't really know anything about this book. It's just always kind of been on my radar because I see it at Barnes & Noble every single time I go. I'm not really a thriller mystery type of girl. I've really stuck in like the romance and the fantasy genre, but recently I have read a few thrillers that I really liked, so I knew that this one was gonna be next up on my list just because it is so popular. I see it everywhere. I see it on Instagram, but I didn't really know what to expect from it. But just based on like the title, the way it looks, the general synopsis on the back of the book, I thought that this was going to be a lot more of a thriller, but I wouldn't call it a thriller really at all. It's really more of a mystery, but it's kind of an odd mystery because the format in which it's told, you kind of figure out a lot of what's going on very early in the story. Like, it's a very interesting structure. You know, there's kind of a big aspect of the story that you think is going to be something that's, you know, that drags on until the very end, but it's literally answered within like the first 30 pages or so. So from there, you're kind of like, okay, what is this story gonna be about? The story is told from Laurel's perspective, but it's in third person. But then you end up jumping around and it's told from multiple perspectives, from multiple people involved. You go to the past, you see actually what goes on with Ellie, what happens with her. Like, it all gets explained to you, but it's just, it was just kind of odd to me because like when I'm reading a thriller, when I'm reading a mystery, I like to figure things out, you know? I like to be fed the information. I like to kind of figure it out on my own. Like, I prefer to be shown instead of told, like, what the answers to my questions are. Where I felt like in this story, we were kind of like told the whole time what was going on. And when it was revealed what the whole deal was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was crazy. It was very crazy, and it left me with a stomach ache for sure. But as crazy as it was, I felt like I totally predicted it like very early on. Like, I don't feel like what happened was like that big of a plot twist or that crazy just because of like the information that we were fed. So I don't know. I feel like by the time I finished it, by the time I was done, like, it drew me in. It sucked me in. I read this super fast. I mean, I read it within a day and a half or so because I wanted to know what was going on, and I felt like there was going to be something else to it, and like there was going to be a bigger like grand reveal. Like, I was intrigued, do not get me wrong, but it just like didn't give what I thought it was going to give. And by the end, like, I just, you know, I wanted to be scared. I wanted to be thrilled. And by the end, I was just like really, really sad. Like, it was just really dark and sad, and not like in a sexy way. Sometimes like dark stories, they're crazy and they're dark and they're deep, but still you're like, ooh, like that was kind of scandalous. Like, that was crazy. Like, I'm scared. My heart was pumping. Like, this to me was just really depressing and sad. And I just felt really, really unfulfilled by the ending personally. Yeah, those are my general thoughts. So if you'd like to try this book out, I will tell you, I mean, it like I said, it sucked me in. I feel like it's good for this time of year because it's creepy, it's weird, it's got a mystery sort of element to it. So if that's your type of book, I would check it out for yourself. Like, I definitely haven't read anything like this. The combination of like what the story was mixed with how it was told, very unique, very different. But overall, like, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, I wouldn't say that I loved it, or by the end of it I was like, oh my god. Because every other thriller I've ever read, by the time I finish it, I'm like, I need other people to read this. Like, I need to get your thoughts. I need to see your reactions. I want to see you processing it, so that like, because I know something that you don't know, like, I want to see how you react. But upon finishing this, like, I don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel like recommending this to any of my friends. So yeah, those are the general thoughts. Now I want to talk some more for those of you that have read this and just want to sit here for the tea talk. Let's get into that now. So exit if you have not read this yet. Okay guys, where do I begin? So this story, it was weird, right? It's like it follows Laurel. We see most of the story from her point of view, and mainly the story is focused on Ellie, but there are also like these other members of this family. You know, we have Hannah, the sister, and then we have the brother. I think his name was Jack. He wasn't very mentioned throughout the story, but you know, like, you're feeling for Laurel, you're attached to Laurel, you want Laurel to get her justice for what happened to Ellie. And so when the story starts out, like, I'm thinking that this whole book is going to be like, oh, what happened to Ellie? And because it's a thriller, because I thought it was a thriller at least, like, I'm assuming that Ellie is not dead, right? Like, I'm assuming we're gonna find out something crazy happened. Like, that's what I was hoping for. But when it was revealed within like 5 seconds that, okay, Ellie's dead, like, we found her remains, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, obviously I was still very intrigued at that point because there's pieces of the story that don't make sense. We still don't know what happened to her. We still are confused because of the break-in that happened to the home where things were missing that it seemed like were only things that Ellie would take. Like, there was obviously more to the story, but I didn't love knowing so early on, like, okay, Ellie's dead. And then, you know, we meet Floyd, and because it's like, again, a thriller mystery book, I assume, I'm like, something is probably off about this Floyd situation. Like, I don't know. But the second she was like, okay, this kid looks a lot like Ellie. Maybe I'm a psychopath for assuming this, but right away I was like doing the math in my head, and I'm like, okay, this is probably Ellie's kid, right? Like, what else would the explanation be? Like, it's not Ellie, obviously, so the only other way that the kid would look a ton like Ellie is for it to be her kid. So, I mean, my first thought before we learn more is that Floyd is crazy and that, you know, he kidnapped Ellie and like impregnated her and then obviously like killed her. Like, that's my thought process. But then the second the story goes back and starts talking about Noelle, because Noelle clearly from the get-go is a weirdo. Like, you know, she's odd. You can tell she has like a weird obsession with Ellie. The second she's brought back up, I'm like, okay, it's not her kid. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying like I automatically knew this entire story, but to me it was like very obvious that that Poppy is Ellie's kid, right? So I figured, hello Draco, welcome to the party. I figured, okay, that Noelle was somehow involved, and I figured maybe her and Floyd together like kidnapped Ellie. And so yeah, when it was like revealed what happened, and that, and you know, we're seeing it from Ellie's point of view back in time. We see that Noelle invited her into her house, so okay, she's the one that kidnapped her. And then I was so confused whenever it was, you know, made obvious that Poppy was in fact Ellie's baby. Like, I thought for a minute that Noelle somehow like got a specimen from Floyd and inserted that into Ellie. Like, I thought that's what was happening for quite a while. So I was like, oh my, like, how did she make this happen? That's very creepy. I mean, the whole situation of her being chained up in the basement with the hamsters, first of all, disgusting. I had a hamster, I know they smell. Her like putting all the hamsters in the cages, like locking her in a basement, literally just imagining one hamster in a room with like no ventilation, it would reek. Times that by hundreds. Like, that part to me was very creepy, very disgusting. Like, that satisfied the like weirdness that I was looking for from this book. I mean, Noelle was obviously like off her rocker, but I'm just trying to understand like how I'm supposed to feel about Floyd, because I felt like, you know, by the time the story ended and it's like Floyd confesses to Laurel what happened, it's like, are we supposed to feel bad for him? Like, obviously Noelle like bamboozled him, but also he had this ongoing relationship with Noelle for a very long time, and every indication, every description we've had of Noelle is that she's like a vile woman, like in every type of way. Like, she's disgusting and she's also very weird. So I'm like, I don't care how bad you needed to get laid, sir. Like, how is this woman your choice? You know, like, I kind of feel like you had some craziness coming to you for letting this go on for so long, and then obviously like throwing her out to the wolves because you were done with her after a year. I mean, what'd you expect? You mess with a crazy bitch, she's gonna go crazy on you. So yeah, I mean, that was all very weird. It's like, I felt like we were supposed to feel bad for him, and then obviously him, like, I just thought it was strange. Like, I thought the ending just, I wanted something crazy to happen. Like, I wanted Floyd to go nuts. I wanted him to like tie up Laurel, and like somebody, like, I wanted Jack and the girlfriend to show up and like rescue them. Like, I just expected something crazier from this. I felt like tension, like the second tension really started to build up and build up and build up, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Like, her going over to his house, the second she kind of started to put two and two together and knew that something wasn't right. And then it was just like, watch this video on my computer, and like, I'm sorry, I don't feel like Laurel had very much of a reaction. Like, is that just me? Like, I felt like she was just like, oh, my daughter was kidnapped and chained up in a basement with a bunch of hamsters, forcibly inseminated with some man's specimen that was bought off the internet forced to have a baby. The baby was ripped from her arms, and then she just was like left to die. But like, okay, cool, I have a new granddaughter now. Like, I don't know, I just thought it was a little strange. Also, like the journey of Poppy and how we were supposed to feel about her. I mean, when the story starts, like Poppy is a freaking weird girl. Like I was majorly creeped out by her. I got like secondhand embarrassment ick from the way she acted. Like it was all very strange, but then like as the story went on and the more time she spent with Laurel, she became like more and more tolerable. And then by the end, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like she has like a good family now, I guess. And like she's Ellie's baby. Like it was just weird. And then Floyd just like accidentally killing Noelle. Like I don't know what I wanted from it, but I just thought it was strange. Like I think it's fine what happened. Like it's a crazy story, but I just don't think I like the way we found out. Like it was just kind of odd the way that it was told. Like we see Laurel and it's in third person, but then we see from Noelle's point of view, first person, like she's writing a letter to Floyd, but then come to find out like, okay, she's dead. And then Floyd's like point of view a little bit here. And then we just see generally like what's happening to Ellie. Like I just thought it was such an unsatisfying ending for Ellie. Like I don't know. It's like it was crazy, but I just think if the story was told in a different way and we weren't just like literally spoon-fed the information as the reader, it would have hit a lot harder and I would have been a lot more mind blown. Like I don't know, Floyd just like going off and like killing himself after confessing this to Laurel, who he's been spending like months and months with and like falling in love with and telling her that he loves her. Also, just the side note of like Hannah dating Ellie's former boyfriend. Like I just thought all that other like weird family stuff was so strange because it was like talked about but not talked about a lot. It was just like happening on the side. It's like, why was Hannah dating Ellie's ex-boyfriend? Like, and also I guess we were just like supposed to feel bad for Hannah because Laurel cared too much about Ellie to care about Hannah, but also like Hannah was just kind of a bitch. Like I don't know, like I just didn't feel super attached to any of these characters, and maybe it's just the writing style. Like I don't know. I don't know, and that's literally how I feel, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I just needed to ramble about it. Like I'm just still processing. Like it's not like it was bad. Like the story is crazy, the concept is crazy, but I just kind of like wish it was crazier. You know, and like maybe I just like, this wasn't the book that I was looking for, and maybe I should have looked into it further before I went into it with these expectations, but like just then she was gone, the disappearing child, like I don't know. How many times can I say I don't know? I don't know. But if you guys have read this book, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I would love to know if you agree with me, if you also felt like you very early on predicted what was happening and that, you know, if you just wanted more from it, if you thought it was great. I would love to hear that too. If you have any other recommendations of books that are similar to this, but like better and are maybe giving me what I was wanting this to give, I would love to hear them. I'm dipping my toe into the thriller mystery world. Like it's not something I know a lot about, but I'm really, really liking them so far. And especially this time of year, like Halloween, it's a fun little moment. So yeah, give me y'all's recs down below. I'd love to try some more, but other than that, that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.